So, back in June, the trailer for a new movie called Karen dropped. It was pretty much more or less what you'd expect from a 2021 movie called Karen.
Tell me about your new neighbors. They're black.
Hi, I am Karen Drexler. I'm your neighbor.
Wait a minute, we have a white entitled neighbor named Karen?
Karen.
There she is, slaving away in the kitchen. I've come across some very suspecting teenagers.
Suspecting?
She doesn't like black people.
We have a search warrant.
Well, I'm black.
I know, she doesn't like you either.
Tell me, huh?
We are living next door to a racist.
Bad things happen to people that don't comply.
Yeah, this trailer received quite a bit of backlash and mockery online. People talked about how patently absurd certain moments were, with the Confederate flag soap dispenser getting a lot of well-deserved attention, how it seemed to want to ride the coattails of Jordan Peele and Get Out, how the whole thing felt like an SNL skit, how it's such blatant exploitation of real-world issues. Personally, I'd recommend D'Angelo Wallace's video on the topic. He goes over all the controversies that we knew about the movie before it came out. But now it's September. And guess what? The trailer wasn't a joke. It wasn't a prank. This movie actually did get made, and I was one of like 6 people who actually did see it. A smart decision? No. No, of course not. No, it's a movie called Karen. So the very first shot of this movie is the words Black Lives Matter chalked onto a driveway, and at first I thought this was just the most gauche name for a studio ever, but then the movie shows the titular Karen washing it off of her drive. We see a young married black couple, Malik and Imani, moving into their new home in a pretty affluent suburb of Atlanta. Malik works at a community center in the city, and Imani is a blogger, a detail that they do not take advantage of nearly enough. Karen, their next-door neighbor, and her friend Jan from the HOA watch them, and Karen agrees when Jan remarks that it's nice to have a little more diversity in the neighborhood. Later that night, we see Karen installing security cameras around her property. Karen talks to Malik when he's on his way to work, passive-aggressively saying that they have to bring the trash in immediately after the garbage truck has passed.
One more question. Did you get the HOA handbook? Because it clearly states that when you're an owner, that you need to be taking your trash cans off the curb right when the trash is picked up.
I kind of got off late from work. I won't forget next time.
Thank you.
And then telling him that her security cameras are just for safety. Okay, the next scene. Oh my god, it raises so many issues that CinemaSins could do an entire 10-minute long video on just these 2 minutes alone. Karen and her friend Beth are in a restaurant when first Karen's brother, who is a cop, walks over to say hello. So we establish that she has a cop brother who is, to me, like, weirdly close to her and immediately misled me as to what the twist of this movie was going to be. Then Beth thirsts over him for a little bit, which we are subjected to for some reason.
Your brother is hot.
You say that every single time you see him.
Well, he could read me my Miranda rights anytime.
Maybe they could only convince this actor to play a mega racist cop if they also promised to call him hot. Then Beth asks Karen about her new neighbors.
Tell me about your new neighbors.
Hey? They're black.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Can you believe it?
The actors for all of Karen's friends are probably the worst in the whole movie, especially Beth here, but I could also give the actress the benefit of the doubt and say that she read the script and decided to actively camp it up. So beyond introducing the brother, the real purpose of this scene is to show Karen getting 2 black men kicked out of the restaurant for, like, laughing, existing too loudly near her. Why did I think this movie would be any less cringy than the trailer? I suppose this illustrates, 1, that she is a racist Karen, not afraid to ask for the manager, but also, 2, that she has these weird, unexplained Karen powers where literally all she has to do is talk to any white authority figure once and immediately get her way.
Do you want me to take care of that?
No, I got it.
She repeatedly says throughout this movie, like, you don't know who you're messing with, or you don't want me as an enemy. But spoiler alert, other than her brother being a cop, we never find anything out about her that actually makes her particularly powerful. There is nothing to explain how she can just get people into trouble or ruin their lives. This scene was also the scene that made me realize that most of this movie is just a montage of like Karen being racist and terrorizing black people. At this point, Karen is more of the main character than either Malik or Amani, and again, spoiler alert, that's not going to change by the end of the movie either. In the next scene, Karen catches Malik smoking weed, then he comes inside and he and Amani reflect over how their life is an SNL skit.
Wait a minute. We have a white entitled neighbor named Karen?
Yes, babe. And she's nosy as fuck.
Oh my goodness. This sounds like something straight out of SNL.
It's more like Black Mirror.
Really?
Later that night, they hear a noise, so Malik reveals that he has a pistol and goes outside to check it out, but it's just a dog? Unclear if this really was just a dog or if Karen is somehow responsible. So Amani decides to try to play nice with Karen and goes over with a homemade pecan pie to introduce herself and to ask about the camera that Karen has pointed directly at their house. It's really obvious that Amani sees right through Karen's whole facade and is probably the only character in this movie to actually act like a normal person. Karen is also vaguely polite until she literally closes the door in Imani's face. She also drops the whole ass pie right into a trash can, glass pie pan and all, as if her neighbors aren't going to want that back at some time. Like, Karen, you're the president of the HOA, shouldn't you be more adept with neighborly etiquette and like at least know how to put on a ruse? There's another scene of Malik and Imani talking, notable only because he compliments her by calling her college-educated and socially aware. So following this, Malik meets Karen's son, Kyle, who is playing basketball in his driveway, and they chat sports ball a little. Kyle, to be fair, is not actually a Kyle. Both he and his sister Sarah seem to embody the whole Gen Z kids embarrassed by their racist parents trope. They also don't fall into the trap of the white savior. That character comes later. But the most important thing about this scene is that Karen comes out and asks Malik to help her out with her car, then openly thirsts over him, causing him to spill antifreeze on his hand and his shirt. She then insists on him coming into her house and tries to get him to take his shirt off, which he does not do. This was the scene that made me realize that maybe it's a good thing that Karen is like a right-wing racist, because if she were a liberal racist, she would definitely be that person at the protest holding up a sign that says, "Stop killing black men, I want mixed babies." But it gets worse / better. Malik not only finds Karen's like dedicated creeper room where she watches all of her security cameras, he also finds framed photos of Confederate soldiers in her bathroom, along with Confederate flag soap dispenser. The famous Confederate flag soap dispenser. A soap dispenser. A thing whose sole purpose is to dispense soap, with a Confederate flag attached to it by some mechanism. Who has this?
Almost every single thing that has been depicted in this movie has happened to my family. Did the neighbors have Confederate flag soap dispensers? I mean, let's not be silly. Of course they did. I literally live in Texas.
Okay, I guess I stand corrected. So like after this scene, Malik books it back home. He proceeds to explain this all to Imani, and Jesus Christ, her face.
There was a Confederate soap dispenser and Confederate soldiers on the fucking wall, baby. I saw this shit.
This is the face of a woman who has just heard a man say the words Confederate soap dispenser with his whole chest, as if this is a concept every person is very familiar with. I choose to believe that no one told the actress to react this way, and she just added this face when she read the script. We finally get to see the inner workings of the HOA, of which Karen is the president. Karen spends the meeting complaining about her new neighbors and trying to get the other board members or whatever they are to cite them. But when the others push back a little, Karen says mask off and just launches into the most goddamn unhinged rant about criminals and drugs and the great replacement and a bunch of other white supremacist talking points. The rest of the HOA just sits there and vaguely uncomfortable silence before voting against citing them. Oh, Karen. Her and her rants about white genocide.
Okay, Karen.
So Karen invites herself over to Imani and Malik's housewarming party, which I have to say is a terrible idea, but I also desperately want to see Karen be the only white person in a room full of black people. Karen shows up to the party with a fruitcake, which is white person for I hate you, and wastes no time making this the most awkward dinner party since The Office.
I said that I wanted to have kids, and you said that you wanted me to have a vasectomy. What did I do? And then,
we get the famous slaving away line, Jesus Christ, and she and Imani also have this exchange?
Guess I'll just go mingle with some other guests while you mix those mashed potatoes.
It's potato salad.
Of course it is.
I'm sorry, is the implication that white people don't eat potato salad? I thought these writers watched SNL.
Your friend Karen brings her potato salad to your cookout. Uh-oh, T'Challa.
Oh, hell no, Karen. Keep your brand-ass potato salad to yourself.
Also, Malik shows her the Ethiopian ceremonial swords that they've hung on their wall.
Are these swords?
Yes. These are actually Ethiopian ceremonial swords.
This may seem like a random thing to mention, but oh no, it will be relevant. No, honestly though, the worst part of this party is when Karen inserts herself into a conversation about police brutality, a topic that feels way too serious and real for this movie, until, you then realize that that's the entire reason why this movie was made. This might be the hardest scene to watch in the whole movie. I thought that if Karen were surrounded by a bunch of, woke black people, she'd feel outclassed enough to just shut up, but no, audacity is her superpower.
They shot the man 6 times just for reaching for his wallet like his life didn't even matter.
Huh. Black lives matter.
That's right.
Don't all lives matter?
Excuse you?
I'm just saying, why do only black lives matter?
Cringe. There's no other word for it. This makes me cringe. It's embarrassing.
It hurts because it's just so believable. Also, it's revealed that Malik's friend, Justice, was actually one of the men Karen got kicked out of the restaurant earlier. So, it all connects. Karen says a bunch of racist-ass stuff straight to these black people's faces and is finally told to leave when she literally tells them to go back to Africa if they hate America so much. So Imani and Malik decompress after this disaster of a party by blaming each other for Karen's racism. This then also becomes a conversation about whether or not they should have kids right now, and I'm only talking about this scene because of this line.
There are pandemics. Police are killing us, and now racism is right at our front steps.
I'm sorry, there are pandemics? Does this movie take place during COVID or not? And what are the other pandemics? Okay, so when I was rewatching the movie, I noticed that there actually are a couple moments where you see people wearing masks, but they're always just the extras in the background. And then there's this moment where you see the manager of the restaurant wearing a mask in the background of the scene, but then earlier in the movie when she was actually on screen, she wasn't wearing a mask. I have no explanation. I couldn't even begin to. I will never have answers. That being said, Imani has done nothing wrong and remains the most relatable character in this movie, as well as the only good actor. Imani meets Karen's youngest kid, Sarah, who remarks in the most dramatic fashion how Karen doesn't like black people, and this whole scene is so emblematic of all the issues in this whole movie.
Does your mom know about Kobe?
No way. I would get in big trouble. She doesn't like black people.
Well, I'm black.
I know, she doesn't like you either.
It feels like this scene is supposed to be that part of the thriller where a side character lets slip some secret detail about the villain, some clue that the main character or the audience doesn't know yet. But here it's just, she doesn't like black people. Yeah, kid, we knew that. I think that's pretty well established 50 minutes into a movie called Karen. Oh god, the Amy Cooper scene. So, this scene was in the trailer, but I still don't feel like that prepares you for how horrible it is to watch in full. If you don't know / forgot, Amy Cooper, aka Central Park Karen, was a real woman who called 911 on an unarmed black man just watching birds peacefully in a park because he asked her to leash her dog and gave it a treat. Watching that white woman so obviously manipulate the police by pretending to be terrified and in danger while deliberately using that man's race as a weapon to sick the cops on him is equal parts disgusting, pathetic, and scary. So the filmmakers decided to essentially recreate this entire video for their movie. Karen is at a neighborhood park when she demands to see the IDs of 3 boys she decides don't belong there.
Do you mind showing me some ID to prove that you live around here?
ID? What are you, police? I'm not showing you shit.
No, I'm not the police. I am the president of the Homeowners Association.
Karen really said, "No, I'm not the police, I'm the manager." Karen calls her cop brother Mike and pulls the same tactics as Amy. Then, practically mid-sentence, the camera hard cuts to nightfall, the cops are there, and the boys have been put on the ground in handcuffs.
They're coming at me! She's we're literally standing right here.
I told you. I left my wallet with my ID at home.
I guess they all just stood around and waited until the cops arrived. Okay, so now we get to see bad cop Mike in action.
Shut your mouth, boy.
We also meet this white guy who will be playing the role of good cop today, although keep in mind he's not good enough to do anything to actually protect these 3 teenagers.
Not now, rookie. I'm kind of busy. That's it. You're all under arrest.
For what?
Trespassing.
Be careful, kids. White supremacy will turn your voice into Batman's. The kids all get put into a cop car while Imani, who has shown up for some reason, is filming on her phone. As I said before, this movie is essentially a montage of black suffering. There's a scene where Imani breaks down and asks Malik about moving, and it's just too real. When you try to imagine this not as a cringy, bonkers thriller ripping off Jordan Peele, and instead as a real story, you actually have to feel bad for the couple. Like, if we took Karen seriously as a threat and not as a cartoon villain, this would be a horror movie. But at least those have active protagonists. If this were a horror movie, it would be the racism equivalent of torture porn. So we get more white supremacist chit-chat, this time between Karen and cop brother Mike. Mike drops this bomb.
I see these people recording me. It's nothing. The Brotherhood takes care of its own.
I want them out of this.
And then the movie decides to name his daughter Miranda.
Come on, Miranda. Let's go.
After this line earlier in the movie.
Well, he can read me my Miranda rights anytime.
Why? I literally don't even know what they were going for. What does it mean, Coke Daniels? At the next HOA meeting, Karen finally gets fired because it turns out one of the kids' parents is a civil rights attorney and they're filing suit against the HOA and the police department. So Karen becomes even more unhinged now, talking about what a huge mistake they're making, although again, her powers are still limited to talking to managers of restaurants and calling her brother.
I am not going down without a fight, you hear me? All you will get fired.
Speaking of calling her brother to get him to do stuff for her, when Malik is driving home, he gets pulled over by bad cop Mike and the good cop. Mike frisks him, handcuffs him, and blatantly insinuates that this is entirely personal, as good cop just watches on with a vague look of discomfort. Mike then straight up plants a felony amount of weed in Malik's car and then places him under arrest. Literally, good cop is the most useless lamp in this scene. All he does is look on and say, "Mike," and relax a whole bunch.
Get these cuffs off of me. These cuffs off of me, man! Relax.
Bad cop Mike also punches Malik in the face out of nowhere while he's handcuffed, yelling, "That's for my sister."
That was for my sister.
Then, and God, this is where the terrible camera work really makes this difficult to comprehend, Malik, headbutts Mike, and then Mike has his gun out, and then good cop is like, "No." And then he just puts Malik into the police car like Mike asked him to. The worst part of this is still yet to come once they get back to the police station, and good cop says to bad cop, "That was not standard police procedure." I'm sorry, is the implication that it would be okay if it were? Yeah, I'd say punching an unarmed, handcuffed person in the face and then pulling a gun on them is not standard police procedure, but it's also, wrong regardless. If you haven't realized it by now, this movie has nothing meaningful or new to say about law enforcement. Both the good rookie cop and the movie have a really idealized, childish understanding of the police, as good cop literally says, "I didn't sign up for this."
I did not sign up for this. 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 Is that right?
Bad cop then explains about the Brotherhood.
I am the old breed of law enforcement, part of a fraternal order. The Brotherhood. That makes me fucking untouchable.
I didn't think it would be a secret that you're in a police union, but go off, King. After Imani bails out Malik, she finds Karen just sitting on top of her car, and Karen goes on this crocodile tear-filled rant about how the crack epidemic ruined her white neighborhood growing up.
Okay, and?
And as a result, she is just so triggered by the presence of black people that she just needs Imani and Malik to move.
I just don't want you in my neighborhood.
This pisses off Imani so much that she decides that they should hire a lawyer and sue for racial discrimination, and guess which lawyer they go to?
What's your neighbor's name?
Karen Drexler.
You mean the HOA president who harassed my son and his friends with her cop brother?
Mr. Wright, I was the one who sent you the video files.
Like I was saying, it all connects. What a satisfying twist. This guy actually does kind of have a twist to reveal. He basically shows the couple that Karen's husband, Ken, was actually a cop himself before being killed by that black vigilante a few years back. While Malik and Imani are sitting on their couch watching news reports of anti-police brutality protests, as we all do, they hear a pounding on the door and oop, it's our favorite duo back with a warrant to search the house. Is this the same day as seeing the lawyer, as him getting out of jail? Has it been weeks? We don't know, but the movie's almost over and I am happy. Just as Mike is taking care of Malik, Karen too has decided that it's time for the movie to end. She cuts the power to the house and then breaks in with a gun to murder Imani. So while she chases Imani around the house, guess what? Chekhov's Ethiopian ceremonial sword! Now Imani's got a sword, and Karen is fighting her with a revolver or something. This sequence has such a tonal whiplash problem. One moment it's an exciting fight sequence, then next moment Imani starts to get the upper hand, and there's girl boss music playing, and she's kicking the shit out of Karen, and you think, oh, maybe she's actually gonna do her in. But no, then Karen somehow has the gun again, and she's holding this unarmed black woman at gunpoint, because that's what we all tuned in to see. So the editing in this scene, just like any other action scene in this movie, is so terrible it is difficult to comprehend what's even going on. Karen fires a shot and misses, and then the cops, you'll never guess which ones, show up, and bad cop Mike and Karen are both holding Imani at gunpoint while good cop is securing the perimeter like he was told to. Karen shoots Imani in the shoulder, I think, and she's down. If we didn't realize it yet, it is now confirmed that Karen and Mike had literally no plan with this murder at all.
So how do you want to do this? Do you want to shoot her or am I fucking shooting?
Last thing we need to do is have another officer involved shooting. Yeah, gets these people all riled up.
Fine, I'll fucking shoot her!
So, I'll say there was a struggle. She went for my gun.
Yep.
And that's when you shot her.
Yes.
Finally, Sexy Lamp comes in, and upon seeing his partner and a random civilian pointing their guns at an injured, unarmed woman in her own home, says,
What's going on here?
I feel like bad cop Mike was the character that's supposed to make cops look bad, but honestly, good cop is doing a better and more believable job of that. Eventually, all three of them have got their guns out, and Mike is trying to get him to go back outside, and he's trying to get them to call an ambulance and get Karen to drop her weapon, and then, and I swear to God, I do not know for sure what happened here, there are two very quick shots in rapid succession, and both cops are down. I think what happened was bad cop shot good cop in non-lethal area, then good cop shot bad cop back straight in the head, and they both fell backwards, and Karen is left standing with a gun in a room full of 3 dead people, including 2 cops. But we aren't done, of course, don't worry. Good cop isn't really dead, and while Karen is whinging about how he ruined her brilliant plan, Imani gets a gun, and then Karen's dead. Apparently, wherever Good Cop was shot, it didn't really matter because he is fine and he and Amani get into an ambulance and they both recover. And then the rest of the movie is a literal montage. It's like it wanted to be the first 95% of Get Out and then the last 5% of Black Klansman, but with 0% of the actual biting commentary of either. So while the lawyer is giving a press conference explaining why they're bringing this lawsuit, a man standing next to him is like playing the trumpet. Then there are cuts to random black people around Atlanta, some watching the news, some just looking straight into the camera because the movie really thinks it's important. We see Amani achieve ultimate girl boss goals by taking Karen's place as president of the HOA while being the one who literally killed her, no less. The neighborhood, which had been named after Harvey Hill, is renamed after John Lewis. There must be some way to make this illegal. Malik and Imani are now pregnant and happy, and they end the movie looking straight into the camera. I was trying my best to explain to someone on Twitter who had never heard of this movie how bad it is, and words just failed me. The going sentiment with this movie is that it's just another racism is bad movie with zero depth or nuance, and it is, but it's so much more, and so much less. There are a lot of movies that get called that, usually ones centering white characters, directed and or written by white people. Movies like The Help, Crash, Green Book. But the thing is, there are people who like those movies. I actually liked The Help, and I saw Green Book and I thought it was, fine. The messaging is tired and anodyne, honestly, and it doesn't ask any difficult questions or alienate the white audience. But a lot of these movies are well made. They have their moments. They may have good acting or okay writing. They're certainly not shot and edited incompetently. Literally, all of that is wrong with the movie Karen. It's shot like a thriller and tries to create that kind of tone and mood, but when you apply that treatment to this source material, you end up with something that feels like an SNL skit. This movie really does want to be Get Out, no matter what the director says. Like, seriously, dude? This, what? The weird close-ups, the fades between shots, but only some of them, the random aerial shots of nature footage with deep, Shining-esque music over it. The most dramatic music will drop in the middle of innocuous conversations, for example, combos between Karen and Malik or Imani. Like, yeah, Karen is casually saying mad racist stuff, but it's nothing that should surprise the audience or the characters at this point. Yet the movie wants some kind of twist out of, Karen's a racist? Another example is when Imani is talking to Sarah and she says that her mom doesn't like black people. Like, in a thriller, this is where we learn a little more about the villain, but there is nothing to Karen beyond she's racist. Nothing is going on under the surface. Basically, it feels like this movie wanted to be a suspense thriller, but it replaced all the suspense sequences with racist conversations. Also on the topic of editing, the pie scene. I could say so much about this pecan pie. We can only assume that when Imani delivers it, it's the next day or so because Imani has procured a pie somehow, but it's a very odd choice to cut between the two scenes, both taking place at night with the exact same lighting, with just a brief establishing shot between them, despite there being no change in location. Also, who delivers a pie to someone at like 9 p.m. anyways? The pecan pie and the Confederate soap dispenser both deserve credits on the IMDb page because they are the most interesting things in this movie. Alright, okay, we need to talk about Karen. This movie has no idea who Karen is. Since this movie has no nuance, she is every kind of racist white person merged into one. She's a white nationalist / neo-Nazi who rants about the Great Replacement. She's a Southerner, suspiciously into the Confederacy. She's a nosy white woman who gets annoyed by black people being too loud in restaurants. She agrees with her friend when she says that more diversity in the neighborhood is a good thing, like she wants to be a fake woke ally. She also tries to use a black man for his body. Everything she does is racist, but we have no clue what kind or level of racist we're dealing with here. Racist white people come in many different flavors, and the distinction does matter if you actually want to make a meaningful statement. If not, then you fall into the trap of racists are all the same, racists are bad, don't be a racist. Considering the fact that this movie is supposed to be based off of the idea of a Karen, you'd think that they'd want to lean into that stereotype as much as possible. Based on my understanding as someone who is chronically online, a Karen is an annoying, self-important, middle to upper class white woman who isn't openly supremacist or anything like that. Karens do not think that they're racist. They might even be liberal or left-leaning, but they don't recognize their casual racism or profiling for what it is. I'm not saying that calling the cops on black people at a park isn't mad racist, it is, but these people aren't necessarily the same people who would tell a group of black people to go back to Africa or, wave a pistol at a crowd of black protesters. Beyond this, Karen's personality and even her mental health is up in the air. She is repeatedly shown to be unfiltered and unhinged, but managed to become president of the HOA somehow. We see so few interactions between her and her friends or her brother that aren't just a series of racist exchanges. Karen is essentially our main character, and we know nothing about her beyond racism. As I touched on before, despite the mysterious framing, there is nothing special about Karen. Karen is just sloppy. Far from a plotting criminal mastermind, she has no plans at all. This clashes pretty hard with this shot right here of her coldly surveying her enemy's downfall while she sips her wine like she's Cersei Lannister. Keep in mind, I've still left out so much of what is wrong with this movie. All the weird choices, the things that get brought up but never explained or expanded on again, the terrible cuts, the dialogue so horrific it begs comparisons to terrorism, the acting, the fact that Taryn Manning, who plays Karen, is actually a racist QAnoner in real life. Ha! I'm serious about CinemaSins. People hate on them, but this movie is what they were made for. Because if I sat here and pointed out everything wrong with every scene, big and small, the video would be longer than the movie itself. Bottom line, what the hell just happened?
God bless the great book. Racism's easy to defeat. Just drive a black across the south and force him to eat KFC in the great book. You can be sure that in the end, my tolerance is spread to all my family and my friends.
Oh, also, this movie's credits, I cannot begin to explain this choice, but you know how usually movies will have stylized credits with a song playing over it before cutting to basic scrolling credits over a black screen with a different song or two? So apparently the editor was as indecisive and unrestrained as me, because instead of choosing one song to play over the credits, they opted to just play a completely different song every 15 to 20 seconds? Just switch from a new song to a new song? Why?